Hello, YouTube. It's been a while since we did a driving talking head episode. I was going to do a live stream, but my data cap has been reached. So I'm resorting to recording and uploading. Wanted to let you guys know what's going on with the videos that you're watching. Basically, I am almost caught up with the videos. You guys are still a few weeks behind, but your videos are almost caught up. But I want to let you know some behind the scenes stuff that happened. Some of it wasn't that good. The last video you saw, I had cleared out the mobile home and was in process of trying to do the renovation. And what had happened, even though it doesn't show up on that video or in later videos because I didn't record it and I didn't want to be negative, but I should fill you in on what happened. It was a lot of work, and trying to get the materials for the renovations, like the panels and wood and all that. I didn't have the ability to haul all that stuff off. And when I had gotten into that house, the very next door neighbor, the one to the left of me, my house, came over and he offered to help. And I was hesitant, but then he said he could do all that stuff, and he had experience as a home repair guy, that he worked for a property manager, and he had all this experience and could help me with taking things apart and putting up new panels and all that. And even though I can do it myself, I didn't have a truck to haul all that stuff. And the little car that I have wouldn't be big enough to carry it. So I agreed to it. I agreed to him doing the work and hauling the stuff mainly. So then I had him do all the measurements and stuff, and he told me, yeah, it's going to cost about $400 for drywall panels, and $100 for the mud and all this other stuff, and he could get it for me, if I give him the money to go get it. So I gave him the money. I gave him like $600 to go pick up the materials. And then he came up with an excuse saying that he couldn't do it because his boss wanted him to do some stuff. He would do it the next day. And then suddenly the truck that he had, he didn't have. He said that it got stolen. So he was stuck without a truck. And then I said, where's my money? And he said, well, he'll have it for me. He ended up spending it on paying the rent or whatever, and he'd get it back to me. I was like, okay, this isn't looking very good. I was like, okay, well, I'm in on it. I've already sunk $600 in him, and I haven't gotten anything, so I need to try to get my money back. And he kept promising me that he would get the money. I mean, not get the money, but get the materials and stuff. And the next thing I noticed, his power and water are off at his house next to me. He says, well, he couldn't pay the bills and stuff, so they shut it off on him and his wife. And I felt sorry for them, and I was like, well, he's going through hard times and stuff, so I'll go ahead and cover his bill for him, because he said he was going to get the car. The car was like, he was going to get a replacement car coming up and all this other stuff, which is a crock of bullshit, basically. The guy was just a big fat liar. Like, every other word out of his mouth was a lie. But I ended up giving him like another $180 or $200 to get the power turned on, keep the water running. And then he said, well, he kept coming up with excuses. Like, he said, well, he just got, he had another car show up. He had like another truck like he said he would. And I said, can you go get the stuff? And I said, well, it's too big for my truck. I'm going to have to pay Home Depot to haul it, but they didn't have the right size panel at the one nearby, so I got to go all the way to Melbourne, and I won't be able to go there till next week. So this is the kind of stuff he kept doing that kept delaying it. So construction on my house sat in limbo, and then finally I said, look, if you're not going to be able to get this stuff, give me my money back. He said, well, I don't have the money right now because I had to use it to pay the rent, but I'll have it for you next week, which he didn't. So essentially he took off with my money and wouldn't give it back. And what had happened also in that process during that 3-week period that this went on, he had access to the house because I had given him access to the house to come in and do measurements and stuff, and also because he said he was going to show up with the, with the materials. And he was a neighbor. He was like right next door, so I didn't think it was a big deal. But it was. He ended up not having the materials and stuff, and I said, "Where's my money?" And he wouldn't give it to me. He kept saying that, well, he was going to call his wife's father, his father-in-law and stuff, and they would wire the money and all that. And this went on for 2 or 3 days. He couldn't go because he had to go to the hospital. All sorts of crazy excuses and stuff. But my money was still missing. Then the final straw was, I came home one day, and all my tools and everything were stolen, were gone. I had bought, and they were like unused, a lot of it. I had bought a weed whacker to handle the yard work outside. I had one of those pole saws. I bought a pole saw for cutting tree limbs and stuff. And I don't know if you guys saw that episode where I went to Walmart and shopped, and I had the broom, the big broom and dustpan and all that. It wasn't even used. It was all stolen. He took it all. And then basically I came home and all the shit was gone. I said, "Why'd you take my stuff?" He said he didn't take it. So I called the police to report the stolen stuff and the money. And the police essentially told me, well, the police went to his house to knock on his door, and he refused to open. So he wouldn't open the door, and they were inside, him and his wife. But they wouldn't open the door, and the police said they couldn't really do anything about it because this was a civil matter, not a criminal matter, because it was a neighbor, and I had let him into the house to do all this work. So it wasn't like I had contracted it with a contractor or anything. Then that would be considered fraud. But if it was a neighbor, it was a civil dispute, and I would have to take him to court. And all that would happen is, like, if I went and took him to court and I won, I would just get a piece of paper saying I won, but he wouldn't pay me back anyways. And it would cost all this money to file and do all this other stuff. So basically, I lost all my money. He took like more than $1,000 between money and materials and stolen tools and stuff. And then he called me saying he kept, here's the thing that made it stretch out for so long. He would call me and say that he was going to bring it, and he would have it in the next day or two. And this went on for like weeks until I just like stopped taking his calls. I was like, this is pure bullshit. And so all the money that was going to be spent to buy like the wall unit, the new wall panels and stuff was gone. All the tools that I had bought like about $300 or $400 worth of tools was gone. And that left me in limbo, and I was stuck. So the house was stuck. Now, as you guys are watching this recording, we're no longer stuck because that time period has passed, and I was able to save more money from work. And I ended up buying new panels myself, and I went to Home Depot and had them deliver and whatnot. So the videos that you're going to be seeing following this one are actually videos that came after the theft, and I'm doing everything by myself instead of having a neighbor help, And for those of you who would be as angry as I am, because it makes for an awkward situation that you have a next door neighbor who's a big fat thief. That's how you get those family feuds where the neighbors fight each other. Well, it turns out that he ended up getting kicked out of that house or whatever, and so they're gone now. They have moved. I don't know where they went, but they are gone. Now, I don't know who's moving into the house next door. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be rented again or if it's going to be the owners. I don't know. It just sold recently, and they're gonna. But the new people have been mowing the grass and all this stuff, so it looks nice. The deal with that guy, he's pretty shady when you hear about it now. But when I first showed up, I didn't know. The yard was cut. It looked manicured. It looked clean. He had a truck, and he looked like he was working every day. And then he said he had pictures to show me of all the work he'd done, as a handyman. He was like an assistant home reno dude, for a company and all this stuff. So it seemed legit. And I didn't know that he had just moved into that house 4 months prior to me moving in, and that it wasn't his house. It the rental. But long story short, don't trust people like that when they come up and say they can do all this stuff and they take your money and then they just bolt. Because you can't do anything about it. If you gave the money to them and it wasn't like a if it was like a neighbor that did that. And just because they're your neighbor doesn't mean they're trustworthy. Like they could be, he was the next door neighbor. I figured the next door neighbor ain't gonna pull bullshit like that, but he didn't care. And he had his truck did get stolen, but I think it got stolen because he probably didn't make payments, or one of the other people he gypped off earlier came and got him. So my wife and I were like really disappointed about it, but we wrote it off as like live and learn, but also people like that, they're gonna have bad stuff happen to them all their lives because that's the kind of life they live, and they surround themselves with bad karma. So he, like I said, he ended up being forced out of the house, so I don't know where he's living now. My money's gone, just plain like that, plain and simple. But I kept saving and stuff, so I was able to buy, but I didn't get the expensive panel. Well, not expensive, but the sheetrock. I decided to go with the cheap, regular fake wood panel, the paper ones like I used on Good Enough. So that's what you're going to see coming up soon. I do have the materials and stuff again, so I've been working on it. You guys are still right now a couple weeks behind on the videos. Just want to let you know that. I do appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the tips and stuff. Stuff that I can implement. I am implementing some of it. What your suggestions are with the same things that I did do. So we're at least thinking the same thing. As far as doing the house right now, it's pretty much me working on it on my own with my wife and kids. So they've been helping out, but mostly me. And I don't mind. At least I can go at my own pace. I basically do it after I get home from work and then on the weekends. It's kind of sucking because most of the weekends are being absorbed with working on the house. So I try to make time for my kids on the weekend because that's when I see my son. And it's been difficult, but we try to squeeze it in there. But until the house gets done, we're still spending a lot of time just working on the house on the weekends, and that's what it's been like. So appreciate you all for joining me. I will do a video coming up soon on the tax deed sale and how you go about participating in that and getting a house, for an affordable price. I will talk about some of the pitfalls, some of the things that you really need to be aware of. I didn't know about it until now, because I didn't know about it until I did it. So that's one way to find out. So hopefully if you watch that video and you haven't done it before, it will give you a heads up so you know what to expect, and also things to watch out for so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. So until next time, everyone, take care. God bless you all. Please stay safe. Bye-bye now.